Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we sift through corporate filings so you don't have to. Today we're diving into an AT&T proxy statement. Now before you yawn and click away, remember this isn't just boring paperwork. This document reveals AT&T's plans, who's in charge, and how they get paid. Think of it as a sneak peek into the company's playbook and maybe even a few juicy secrets. Okay, maybe not juicy. This is Schedule 14A, also known as a proxy statement. It's basically AT&T's way of asking its stockholders to vote on important things at the annual meeting, which is scheduled for May 15, 2025. It lays out all the proposals from electing directors to approving executive pay. First up, we have the letters from the chairman and CEO, John Stankey, and the independent lead director, Bill Kennard. Stankey talks about AT&T's strategic plan focusing on 5G and fiber growth, while Kennard emphasizes the board's commitment to independent oversight. It's all about projecting confidence and stability. They're basically telling stockholders, we've got this. Alright, so what are we actually voting on? Well, there are three main items. First, electing 10 directors to the board. Second, ratifying Ernst & Young as the independent auditors. That's an accounting firm. And third, an advisory vote on executive compensation, or say on pay, which means stockholders get to give a thumbs up or thumbs down on how the top executives are being paid. Let's talk about the board. There are 10 nominees up for election, and the filing gives a brief bio of each. They each have impressive backgrounds in areas like tech, finance, and government, which is probably why the board recommends voting for all of them. Also, one notable thing, Glenn Hutchins is not standing for re-election at this year's annual meeting, so the board will be reducing its size to 10 directors. Next, there's the ratification of Ernst & Young as the independent auditors. Basically, the audit committee has already chosen Ernst & Young and is now asking stockholders to give their approval. The board is obviously recommending that stockholders vote for, because the audit committee believes that Ernst & Young is qualified to do so. Now for the juicy part, executive compensation. This is a non-binding vote, but it's still important because it tells the company what stockholders think about how executives are being paid. The board is recommending that stockholders vote for the executive compensation plan, stating that it is aligned with the company's business strategy and the overall interests of its stockholders. Moving on to corporate governance. This section outlines how the company is run, with sections on the board's role in risk oversight, ethics, director independence, and how stockholders can communicate with the board. It's all about transparency and accountability. A key part of that is that the independent directors have elected William E. Kennard as the board's independent lead director. The audit committee plays a big role in making sure the company's finances are in order. One of its key responsibilities is to oversee the independent auditor, Ernst & Young. The filing also contains a table summarizing fees for Ernst & Young, so we can see where exactly they were paid. In 2024, audit fees were $38 million compared to about $37 million in 2023. Audit-related fees decreased significantly from $3.7 million. The company has to pre-approve anything to do with this, which is also discussed in the report. Now we get into the good stuff, the compensation discussion and analysis, which is all about how the executives are paid. It begins with a summary of 2024 key accomplishments as AT&T continues with its investment-led strategy. There are a few key numbers that are outlined, and we can use them to determine overall performance. It appears that we're growing wireless and AT&T fiber the right way. In 2024, AT&T added 1.65 million mobility postpaid phone subscribers, which measures the amount of users paying monthly cell phone bills or a postpaid plan. They grew mobile service revenue by 3.5%. AT&T Fiber grew locations by 2.4 million. This may be the nation's largest fiber network, as they tout adding 1 million in net adds for 7 consecutive years. Overall broadband revenues grew 7.2%, with fiber revenues growing almost 18%. Later, we have information about how executives performed and were compensated. There's both short-term and long-term incentives. The committee approved 85% payout of the strategic metric 20% weighting for all the NEOs, based on some misses on network reliability and cultural transformation. There's a lot of information about the goals and accomplishments of the company that are described in the strategic metrics portion. This means, overall, some execs were not paid a portion of their bonus because of that miss. We then see details about long-term incentive plan awards. In it, we can see long-term incentive plan awards, plus a chart with all the relative TSR, and how it relates to the peer group established at the time of grant. It's important to note the specific metrics for these plans are subject to change, but can include our GPS growth, ROIC, and total stockholder return. Finally, there is some information about equity compensation. As of December 31, 2024, there were roughly 65 million shares of AT&T common stock that could be issued under existing equity compensation plans. Lastly, we have some definitions for financial measures that are not generally accepted, also known as non-GAAP. These include things like free cash flow and net debt. You can see a few definitions with reconciliation tables on how they calculated those values. For example, one of the useful measures they use is free cash flow, which they measure as the cash from their operations minus capital expenditures and cash paid for vendor financing. In 2024, it was $17.6 billion, up almost $1 billion compared to 2020-25 free cash flow. So, what's the big picture here? AT&T is focused on growing its 5G and fiber networks, managing its debt and rewarding its executives for achieving key performance goals. The company is doing mostly fine, but there are some misses which are admitted to. What I did notice is this report definitely aims to project an image of stability and progress. One of the things that I noticed is no further changes are anticipated for our 2025 compensation programs. So the way executives were paid is not going to change. I think it's a bit too safe to not make adjustments to the plan for 2025. But overall, I wouldn't say there is anything truly noteworthy or a red flag to worry about here. If AT&T continues to grow its broadband and fiber businesses, it may be in a good spot to reduce its $123 billion debt and unlock more cash for investors. There may also be some regulatory and network performance challenges to handle, but the path is set for AT&T. That wraps up our decoder for today's AT&T proxy statement. I tried to cut through the jargon and give you the highlights. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment and subscribe for more corporate deep dives.